of the People Television.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing.
And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world, because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
And here's to VOP TV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
My name is Made Kuti and you're watching VOP TV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Zika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power, an opinion.
Well, hello and welcome to the African News and Voice of the People Television. I am David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website. It's www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news stories. We begin the African news from Egypt, where Egypt's parliament is looking into ways to regulate children's use of social media platforms to combat what lawmakers call digital chaos, following some Western countries that are considering banning young teenagers from social media. The House of Representatives said in a statement it would work on a legislation to regulate children's use of social media and put an end to the digital chaos facing the children and which negatively impact their future. The statement added that legislators will consult with the government and expert bodies to draft a law to protect Egyptian children from any risk that threatens its thoughts and behavior. The statements came after President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi urged his government and lawmakers to consider adopting legislation restricting children's use of social media until they reach an age when they can handle it properly. Away from that report, Kenya's Social Health Authority says it will begin rejecting reimbursement claims for medicines from county-run hospitals that fail to dispense prescribed drugs to patients. Announcing the decision, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale said the move follows the detection of a widespread and persistent pattern in public health facilities of patients completing consultations, laboratory tests, and scans, but leave without receiving medicines in spite of prescriptions being recorded in the system. According to Duale, data from the Digital Health Agency shows alarming disparities between the number of patients treated and those who actually receive medication. He cited Kakamega County Referral Hospital, where records showed that out of 52,000 patients treated, only 9,000 were issued medicine, with a similar trend in Bomet County, where approximately 34,000 patients visited public hospitals, but only 4,600 received drugs. Duale said the trend has fueled the mushrooming of private chemists and pharmacies around public hospitals, which raises serious concerns about possible theft of medicine or collusion between hospital staff and private pharmacy owners. Still on some medical issues, the Ghana Armed Forces, that's the GAF, has denied media reports that nearly 60% of applicants who recently underwent medical screening for military recruitment tested positive for HIV. In a statement by the Acting Director General of Public Relations, Naval Captain Veronica Ahen, GAF said the claims were entirely false and misleading, urging the public to disregard them. It explained that the medical screening exercises was still in progress, with no outcome already finalized or released, contrary to the assertions being wildly shared. Still in Ghana, and in another development, the minority leader of Ghana's parliament, Afenyo Markin, has criticized Chief Justice Baffour Boni for perceived intolerance towards its members. The minority caucus had felt that the CJ's nomination and vetting were illegitimate due to unresolved legal challenges related to the removal of former Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. Questioning its motives for visiting ministries, the minority caucus refused to engage in Baffour Boni's scheduled parliamentary meeting amidst concerns about the CJ's intolerance as head of the judiciary. In a statement to that effect, the caucus condemned what it described as attack on its members after raising concerns about the processes surrounding the president's appointment of Baffour Boni, wondering whether the CJ was embarking on a thank you visit to the government for his appointment. Afenyo Markin stated that the minority caucus does not see him as a tolerant head of the judiciary. He added that if the CJ wants to engage with them, he should come to their offices and the caucus would outline its issues with him. And in Somalia says that all World Food Program, that's the WPF, aid commodities affected by port expansion in Mogadishu have been returned. In a statement by the Somalia Foreign Ministry, the government took full responsibility for addressing what he described as an unfortunate situation and expressed regrets that it occurred. However, it ensured the continued secure and uninterrupted delivery of humanitarian assistance. The government said it has provided the WPF with a larger and more suitable warehouse within the Mogadishu port area, supporting improved storage capacity and efficient distribution. Mogadishu, for the state, said it will review the circumstances surrounding the matter and remain fully committed to humanitarian principles, transparency, and accountability, and values its close partnership with the WPF, the United States, and the international donor community. And from Somalia, we'll go straight to Sudan, where Sudanese armed forces have ended a 2-year siege imposed by the paramilitary rapid support forces, that's the RSF, on Dilling City, the second largest city in South Kordofan. A military statement said the army forces opened the Dilling Road after a successful military operation that resulted in routing and destroying the RSF militia. It added that army forces inflicted heavy losses in lives and equipment on the RSF's militia. According to the statement, the armed forces vowed to continue cleansing the country of the RSF militia until security and stability are restored across the country. Meanwhile, the International Organization for Migration, that's the IOM, says that over 3.3 million Sudanese people displaced both internally and externally returned to nearly 2,500 locations across 9 states in their country in November 2025, marking a 10% increase compared to the previous month. The figures were included in an IOM report covering the period November the 1st to the 30th, 2025, based on data collected from over 12,000 sites in 185 localities across all 18 states of Sudan. The organization said that an estimated 3,334,705 people returned to 2,500 locations in 65 localities across 9 Sudanese states. According to the report, 83% of the returnees came from internal displacement, while 17% returned from outside the country. And from Sudan, we'll go straight to Uganda, where Uganda Communications Commission, that's the UCC, has announced the full restoration of internet services across the country, ending a temporary shutdown that had been implemented during the recent election period. The UCC said all online services are now fully operational nationwide, with all restrictions lifted following the completion of necessary technical and security assessments. In a statement, it praised the patience, cooperation, and understanding shown during the period of limited internet access. Uganda was plunged into an internet blackout ahead of the January 15th general election. However, UCC Executive Director Yobi Thebo said the measure was necessary to mitigate threats to national security during the election. Moving on, there are reports that the One Data Initiative says that China's role as a leading financier to developing nations has shifted over the past decade, with middle-income countries, particularly in Africa, now transferring more funds to China in debt payments than they receive in fresh financing from the country. It noted that Africa has experienced the most dramatic reversal in Chinese finance. going from receiving $30 billion to paying out $22 billion, a $52 billion swing. The analysis found that multilateral lenders increased net financing by 124% over the past decade and now provide 56% of net flows, equivalent to $379 billion between 2020 and 2024. According to Executive Director at One Data, David McNair, the facts that there is less lending coming in, but previous lending from China still needs to be serviced, is the source of the outflows. And we move back to Uganda, where Ugandan government has dismissed accusations that it is targeting the political opposition following last week's presidential elections, saying that the arrests were limited to individuals who had caused problems. In a statement, Information Minister Chris Bayonusi said the arrests were in two categories. He explained the first included those he described as wanting to cause violence simply because the candidate they supported lost the elections. He stated that the second involved those he called criminal gangs mobilized by their leaders to turn the election period as a launching time to cause civil unrest in the country. According to him, the category that was plotting such kind of violence has been arrested, and those that are on the run will be got and apprehended as the law requires. In the days immediately after the elections, security agencies allegedly ramped up pursuit of opposition supporters. You're watching the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. We'll go straight to the analysis segment of the news. And joining us now to make sense of these stories and more in the studio with us is Barrister Darlington Agumo. Barrister Darlington is a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria and also a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Barrister, a very good afternoon to you and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, David, and how are you?
I'm fine, very well, thank you, Barrister. How are you doing as well?
I'm okay.
All right then, joining us virtually all the way from Uganda also is Barrister Edward Okwaro Matakeye. Barrister Edward is a human rights activist, a legal practitioner in Uganda, and also on this table will be a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Barrister Edward, a very good afternoon to you, and thanks for joining the analysis segment of the African News.
Very good afternoon to you, David. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for joining the conversation. Also joining us all the way from Kenya, virtually as well, is Honorable Mercy Ngota. Honorable Mercy is a cleric and also a Nairobi politician. But I understand Honorable Mercy has not joined the conversation. So I will be starting this conversation from Uganda, where, interestingly, Barrister Edward, opposition, I beg your pardon, security forces plus the government of Uganda has dismissed accusations clearly that it is not targeting political oppositions following last week's presidential election. And of course, they've said that the arrests were limited to individuals who had caused problems. In fact, the information minister, I'm talking about Minister Chris, did say that the arrests were in two categories. The first he did explain was the first that included those he described as wanting to cause violence because the candidate they supported lost the election. And the second, of course, he did say the criminal gangs, he called them the criminal gangs that mobilized their leaders to turn the election period as launching time to cause civil unrest in the country. What's your position with the statements from the State House clearly about post-election and pre-election arrest and, of course, violence in Uganda?
I just want to say it is unfortunate that Uganda is still a country without democracy. Uganda is a country where people are not allowed a free, actually having a time to negotiate on certain issues. Uganda is a country where you see it is only one party which should actually be giving opinions, and the rest should not, as indicated. I'm happy that the son of the president just a day ago admitted the crackdown of His Excellency Bob Wine's house, where he said the military was indeed deployed in the opposition leader's residence. And only that, what he's saying, they did not allegedly assault the wife of the opposition leader, which is very wrong. This is a lady who was actually taken to the hospital in a bad condition. And that one, I wish he had also admitted and give a solution on the way forward next, either to remove the military, which we still see within the head of opposition residents. So Uganda today, let me tell you, my brother, is even carrying your own flag, carrying your own flag in Uganda can make you be arrested. And I don't know in other countries whether that would be a crime, you to celebrate using your own flag. I thought this is one way of actually advertising that my country is a lovely country if I'm holding my flag. That is what I see with the Ugandans who are being tortured. They are tortured just because you are holding a flag. That's very worrying. It's very worrying.
Okay.
So yes.
Now, sorry to butt in here. I want to confirm something. On one hand, the general, I'm talking about General Muhoozi, the son of the president, who is also the head of the military, did, of course, affirm to the fact that there was a major crackdown in the apartments of opposition presidential candidates. I'm talking about Bobby Wine. He did admit to that. But then again, on the other hand, the government is coming to say clearly that there was no sort of repression, kind of, on the part of opposition, but because of the reasons that they mentioned. How much of these trust should Africans plus Ugandans have with these governments that have said on one hand one thing and on the other hand saying some other things?
You know, this is a government without a spokesperson. This is a government which is only a government which is managed by the family.
But the information minister is a spokesperson.
No. You see, a minister is actually under a control of the chief of defense, who now should not even be answerable. A minister should not be answerable to this chief of staff, meaning chief of military. But it's because the son has proven to see other citizens as nothing, as nobodies in the country. It's just like Morsi is feeling like he's the god of Uganda. So it is becoming a bit crazy to him to issue statements which are not actually supposed to be issued by him. He has forgotten his job. Yes, you are saying the minister is there. That is the work of the ministry. But now there's also what we call a government spokesperson, which we have not yet seen talk of this. But you get that statements are coming, including the father, who's now Museveni himself, celebrating the arrests of the opposition being in prison. You get Morsi celebrating, actually deploying police, military to opposition grounds, which is not good. So there's no freedom of speech, no freedom of movement, no assemblies. So how can you really expect such a country to even grow if people are being put in prison inside their country? So we are not free. We are not free.
All right, then let me bring this conversation back to the studio. Well, Barrister, interestingly, this is a conversation that is becoming quite a major one that Africans should clearly be looking at. The government of Uganda has clearly dismissed the accusation that the government is targeting opposition, figures all through the election and after the election. Now, this is the government statement coming to say, look, we have arrested those who the election did not go in their way and their favor. And the other ones they mentioned is a criminal gang that felt the election period is a time for them to, start off the operation. But on the other hand, the son of the president, the head of the military, I'm talking about General Muhoozi, has clearly said that yes, there was a military raid in the apartment and the home of opposition figure Bobby Wine. So with this level of both sides of the government talking differently, how much of mistrust should Africans plus Ugandans have on the government of the incumbent that have been re-elected into office? I'm talking about President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
The first casualty in the government of any dictator is truth. Truth is murdered because they know that if the truth should be told, or the people should know the truth, they are going to react in a very unfavorable way. So they will sustain the lies to deceive the people. That is one. There's no way a Yoweri Museveni's government can tell Uganda the truth. It's not possible. If you're expecting that, then you can expect to see Godot. Then, two, the opposition in Uganda, what are they doing? Can they come together? There is strength in numbers. I hope you know that.
But Barrister, when you say there is strength in numbers, you also would recall that the same strength in numbers are the same people who have been maimed and killed, which again, the UN also did release a statement before the election that the atmosphere in Uganda is a repressive one that would undermine the credibility of that election. So what do you think the opposition can do in such a situation?
You can never go to heaven except you die. Is that not true? Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Do you think that such evil, it is a 10-minute protest or one-hour protest that will remove them from office? I'm talking of a sustained protest. Let the whole world see what is going on. In fact, there's a level the protest will get to. The whole world will now come hard on Museveni.
Even with the fact that supporters are being criminalized for dissent?
The world is not seeing this thing. You are not making it, you are not escalating it. I'm talking of occupying Uganda, National Assembly. But the opposition, they are not, they are very timid and they are afraid. That's just the simple truth. They are intimidating them and they have bought it.
Barrister, before the election, we saw heavy armored vehicles in cities across Uganda, even in Kampala, the state's capital, the country's capital, major armed vehicles with military men, all armed to the teeth. Barrister, with this level of, I want to use the word loosely, oppression of the opposition, how much can the people do in that situation, Barrister?
They can do much more.
How?
They can do much more. I am telling you. All these things you are telling me now, there are some countries that went through war situation, and they forged ahead. They insisted until international community came to their aid. That's the truth. You will make it in a way that it will attract the attention of the whole world. That's the only way. But if you continue to say, there's armor tank there, there's military there, they are using it to intimidate you. They are not ready to kill as much as you think because they know the repercussion. ICC will be waiting for Museveni.
Should we now say, Barrister, the oppositions and even the people are presently docile for not practically coming out in their numbers to kick against this level of
what
oppression?
I think. Yeah, they are not doing enough because I remember how it used to be in the Western world outside here. Whenever they want to go and protest, you know what happens. Some will block the road. Some will go and occupy certain places. Some will go on actual protest. You know, they divide themselves and engage the government. Engage the government, not on a day, 2 or 3. No, that is perpetually they will be there. Singing, we no go agree. But here in Africa, most of our African citizens, they don't know how to sustain a protest until the right thing is done. They don't know, seriously.
Now, Barrister, before I go to Uganda, looking at the democratic process at which Yoweri Museveni came into power again, and some have said clearly this it's not a confident election, so to say, because again, from the body language of almost everybody, it wasn't so credible as it were. Let's talk about investor confidence on the path of the country, Uganda, and of course the economy. Can this level of loss of confidence in the democratic sustainability of Uganda give another level of vote of confidence to the government, so they can see some level of international donors come to, still come to their aid, as it were?
They don't even care about your investors. They just want to remain in power. That is all. That's what is uppermost on their mind. If anybody should come, the person is coming as a business partner. Those that they use to siphon Uganda's money. These are the people that will come and they will be telling you that they are investors. No, they are not investors. They came to exploit Uganda. And they are in business with the government. That's just what I think here. Nobody will come in an environment where the rule of law, due process, is not entrenched. Where the court system has been hijacked by the government. Where nobody is giving his or her rights. Where things are done upside down. Nobody wants to invest in such an environment because of tomorrow. If something happens, what happened to my business? These are their fears. So they are not coming.
All right,
and that's why most African states are very poor. Under 1 year of Donald Trump, he has attracted $18 trillion investment. Into America. 18 trillion. 18 trillion. What is the GDP of the whole Africa? The whole of Africa. David, we're in trouble. See, I've been telling you, we don't have leaders here. We only have looters.
All right, then. Let me take this conversation back to Uganda. Well, Barrister, interestingly, Barrister Darlington in the studio here did say that the people and, of course, opposition are not doing more, just like some other African countries are also not doing more, because the political elites in these countries have consistently used the level of security and, of course, this military presence to pressure and try to silence the people. How much more can the people do in a situation like we are seeing in Uganda? Not just opposition, I'm talking about the people now, because this, of course, has to do with the people in the very end.
David, people in Uganda have actually accepted to move on, but there's one thing I want to tell you today in this studio. I know nobody knows the time you will go to heaven, but there is much hope with Ugandans. Instead of destroying their country, they are praying to God. And that is what we are waiting. That Museveni will be taken by God himself. And his time is coming. We are expecting to have a state funeral, not very far before the end of 5 years. And that will rescue Uganda. Ugandans are not ready to destroy their own country. Ugandans are not ready to fight with the son of Museveni, who will easily be removed when Museveni is not there.
I was going to go there as well, Barrister, because it's also been rumored that the son of the president, who again, as it stands, is the head of the military, I'm talking about General Muhoozi, is going to take over after the president is gone. So with this kind of setup, if and should the president be gone, God forbid, we're not even praying for his death right now, shouldn't there be an easy plug and play for the son to come into power?
Remember, Museveni did not come to power by himself. Museveni came to power with so many generals. Many have died, but there are so many who are still watching, and they have disagreed with his kind of rule. They are ready to take over from the son. That one I want to tell you today from this studio. The generals who are in the army are not happy with what General Muhoozi is doing to Ugandans. General Muhoozi will not sit in the government even when Museveni goes for 2 months. That one is a promise to you. He will leave the power and he will face the law. What I'm only asking, Africans Let's see democracy. Don't think you will stay in power forever.
All right, then. Well, I'm still going to stay in your country before I go to the situation that emanated from China. Barrister, interestingly, as it stands, the Ugandan Communications Commission has announced a full restoration of internet services across the country, ending what, again, you know, as a temporary shutdown that has been implemented during the recent election period. I mean, you are a victim of this, more like other Ugandans were a victim of this, where internet was shut down, and of course, banking operations as well were affected as a result of this. Some have said this is a statement coming to quell the tension that is already on ground. But what's your position with these statements by the Ugandan Communications Commission, clearly stating that there is full restoration of internet service from a period that even the government said internet was not shut down?
You see, these are statements which come from the same government. They own their statements, they disown their statements because they don't have a stand. They are not organized on what to tell Ugandans. We have suffered the little time our businesses have gone down. The economy, they think they want to grow to a first world country, first world economy. It has gone down because of what they did by just switching internet for a night. It drains the country, it drains the economy, it drains the business. So even as we talk, that statement is not correct. Ugandans are still struggling with internet.
Oh, wow.
The internet in Uganda is taxed more than anywhere in the world. We are highly paying internet, just like the way you are paying any other commodity in Uganda. It's too high, and Uganda, you cannot stabilize and do what we call social media work in a right way. Because in Uganda, by the way, let me tell you, I was in Kenya. There is what we call cybers. But Uganda, there are no cybers. People are struggling even to do their work in their own computers. Internet is not stable. So that is not correct that they have reinstated internet. It's totally a poor statement. And it's a shame to the government of the day.
All right, then. Let me bring this conversation back to the studio here. Barrister, we're still in Uganda. And of course, the Ugandan Communication Commission have said that the internet have been fully restored after the same government, not the commission now. The government has also said before the election, there was no internet shutdown, there was no temporary internet shutdown of any kind. And right now, a government agency is coming to say, look, internet have been restored. But unfortunately, as we speak right now, Barrister, someone in Uganda, as we speak, is still saying the internet has not been fully restored. What should Africans believe as it stands?
The people should cooperate along, because I'm hearing now that they don't want to destroy their country. So they should not endure what is happening until Museveni is taken away. But one thing is very clear. People like him, dictators like him, they don't die alone. Some of them die with their country. Idi Amin is a good example. Mobutu Sese Seko is a good example. Emperor Bokassa, many of them, they die with their country. Mobutu Sese Seko said that before him there is no Zaire, and after him there will be no Zaire. Is that not what is happening to you today? And so when you say you are waiting for him to die, he may not die soon. No. Those people, they have made a pact with the devil. And so they remain in office until they die with the country.
All right, then.
And then when they die with the country, the aftermath is best imagined. The internet, you know why they restored it at all? It's because they need it more than you. They need it more than you. It is inevitable. They must restore it because government businesses in this age and time thrive on what? On internet.
All right,
That
then.
is how they communicate.
All right, then, but Barrister, before I let you go, let me bring this particular story that made it to the bulletin, and I want you to chime in maybe in 30 seconds or even a minute thereabout. Interestingly, there is a decline in China's loan to Africa and a rise in repayments in China. Now, a report from a data initiative known as One Data Initiative has said that China, of course, that has been a leading financier to developing nations, has shifted over the past decade, with middle-income companies, particularly in Africa, now transferring funds to China in debt repayment than they received in fresh financial support from the same country. In fact, going from receiving $30 billion to paying about $22 billion, about a $52 billion swing. Barrister, what do you make of this as it stands? Because this is repayment from African nations back to China, and China presently has practically, from what we hear from these data reports, have stopped giving these loans the way they used to before now.
Good. I have told you here that China does not take prisoners when it comes to their money. You don't mess with China. They don't have time to reschedule your loan. You will pay or they will seize your entire contract. Remember what they did to us here with our presidential jet. They pursued it all over the world until they captured it in Switzerland and seized it. China does not have time for this your corruption or whatever. If you owe them, you pay them as at when due. If not, they will not leave you alone. Africa should realize that. And that's why they are moving forward. David, imagine a billion plus human beings taking care of themselves and they have enough to give you.
All right, then.
Don't you think that there is efficient management of resources there?
Huge question.
So
Huge
you
question.
think they will have time to throw their money away and you use it to go and do whatever? They won't take it to.
Oh, well, let me take this conversation to Uganda while we'll wrap up this analysis segment. Barrister Edward, what's your position? Because, hey, the analysis have found out that multilateral lenders have increased their net financing by 124% over the past decade and now provide 56% in net flows. I mean, equivalent to about $379 billion between 2020 and 2024. Decrease in loan giving, increase in receiving of repayment. What do you make of this?
Enough for whatever they have actually, the action they have taken. You know, the few elements in Africa who have actually survived with these loans are now seeing that China is not a country where you can actually joke with their resources, just like the way they are playing with their resources in Africa. The few individuals are now facing odds to pay the loans before they gain more, getting more loans. So I think it is a plus. It's a plus to us Africans. We need these loans to be paid before our children suffer. Let's struggle and fight with these groups, these African groups, the so-called leaders who have failed, who just want to sell Africa. Africa is a very rich country. Africa is a country where we have each and everything.
All right.
But the problem is our leaders. They are not many, they are very few, and we can count them. We only need time, these few to be removed away from Africa. If not, be jailed in China because of what they are borrowed. Because some of these loans don't count in Africa. There is no value we have gotten from these loans. Instead, they have looted the same loans they are borrowed and giving us that burden of payment.
All right,
Thank
then.
you.
Thank you so very much, Barrister Edward Okwaro Matakinya, for chiming your voice and opinion on the analysis segment of the African News. Barrister Edward, just in case you're just joining us, is a legal practitioner in Uganda and also a human rights activist plus a business associate in Uganda. Thank you so very much once again, Barrister Edward, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also in the studio with us, we had Barrister Darlington Agumo, a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria, and also a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Barrister, thank you so very much for being here.
You're welcome.
We'll take a very short break right now. When we return, Islamic State-linked militants killed 22 in eastern Congo. These and more when we return after the break. Please stay with us.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing.
And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
Mr. Familoni, and here's to VOP TV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
Arararara, my name is Made Kuti and you're watching BOP TV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Zika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
We're glad to have you back at the Still the African News right here in Voice of the People television. Now to more stories. An internal report by the United Nations and local civil society lenders says that no fewer than 22 civilians were killed by Islamic State-linked militants in a village in eastern Congo's Ituri province in the last deadly attack in the region. Christophe Muyandero, who heads the local rights group known by its French acronym CRDH, based in Irumu, said 25 civilians have been killed, including 15 men whose body were found inside a house and 7 others along a road. The attackers were identified as members of the Allied Democratic Forces, a Ugandan armed group active in eastern Congo that is recognized by Islamic State as an affiliate. The UN report said the attack in Apakolo came 2 days after ADF fighters attacked the nearby village of Kazaraho, where they clashed with the army and local military groups. Islamic State claimed responsibility for the attack in Kazaraho, saying it also abducted and killed 3 Christians. And in South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says the economy is growing with falling unemployment, poverty, and inequality, as well as improved confidence in the country, stating that the country was moving towards a spite of high levels of youth unemployment. He stated that over 1 trillion rand will be spent on infrastructure, while cabinet meets to plan youth job creation in 2026. He explained that recent signs shows that progress was being made, adding that the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was also performing well, with inflation at a 20-year low. However, the president explained that to grow the economy in a meaningful and lasting way, the country must increase investment, adding that the difference between a temporary boost and long-term growth lies in investment. In another development, Israel says it has agreed to be a limited reopening of the Rafah border crossing between the Gaza Strip and Egypt as part of Donald Trump's peace plan. A statement from the Israeli Prime Minister's office said the crossing will be open for pedestrian passage only and subject to a full Israeli inspection mechanism. The Rafah crossing is a key entry point for humanitarian aid in Gaza and has been mostly closed since May 2024. Both humanitarian organizations and the United Nations have long asked for its reopening, but Israeli authorities have resisted the move since the ceasefire in Gaza came into effect on October the 10th. And from that story, we move straight to talking African business story. Tanzania says it expects to sign a deal for its stalled project to construct a $42 billion liquefied natural gas plant before June with production set to start in 8 years' time. The development was stalled by proposed government changes to a financial agreement reached in 2023. Along with ones in neighboring Mozambique, Tanzania's project could help establish the East African region as an emerging LNG export hub to Asia. Tanzania's Minister of State in the President's Office for Planning and Investment, Kitila Nkombo, said in London that the government has basically concluded the commercial discussions and now only discussing the legal framework of this agreement. Nkombo explained that a specific legal framework was needed given that at $42 billion, this was the largest ever investment project for the country. He added that the deal is expected to be signed before June, and the project is expected to create over 100,000 jobs. Still talking business, Australian mining company Sudan's Resources said an arbitration panel has dismissed its challenge to what it called Congo's unlawful exploration of subsidiary Congo's iron mining permits in the country's Sangar region. Sundance said a tribunal in London operating under International Chamber of Commerce rules ruled that Congo had a legitimate basis to revoke the permit because the project was not developed during the period allowing from 2016 to 2018. It therefore dismissed all claims brought by Sundance and Congo Iron. In a statement, non-executive chairman David Porter expressed the company's shock at the ruling, which he described as poorly reasoned ICC award. He added that the tribunal members made fundamental errors and failed to allow the company reset its case on issues that were central to their decision-making process. And to wrap up the African news, we go straight talking sports. Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko has dismissed as excesses the post-African Cup of Nations tensions between his country and Morocco, saying that it was only caused by sporting emotion. Sonko spoke alongside his Moroccan counterpart Aziz Akanouch during the 15th Morocco-Senegal Joint Commission for Cooperation in Rabat. According to Sonko, the missteps seen here and there should neither be denied nor dramatized, but reframed as emotional excesses born on fervor, not as political or cultural rifts. He noted that the visit came at a time charged with sporting emotion, regrettably excesses, and images that are sometimes painful for two people deeply connected. However, Sonko and Akanouch are meeting for their country's first joint commission in 12 years, lasting from January 26th to the 28th, with the 3-day event providing both countries a timely opportunity to ease tensions. On his part, Akanouch stated that their conviction is that true victory is measured not only by results, but by people's ability to invest in sports as a tool for human and economic development and to strengthen all positions on the world stage. And with that sports story, we've come to the end of African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Do also subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.
In a world where power shapes with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour,